1. Ants as allies, battling spotted lanternflies with nature's helpers. 2. Invasive swarm, spotted lanternflies take over Toledo trees, your guide to control. 3. How to deal with invasive spotted lanternflies, expert nursery tips. 4. Spotted lanternflies invade Virginia, what to expect this pest-heavy summer. 1. Ants as allies, battling spotted lanternflies with nature's helpers. Virginia researchers harness ants as a secret weapon against spotted lanternflies. In an unexpected twist in the fight against one of the most harmful invasive species in the region, Virginia has discovered a surprising ally, the common ant. Under the guidance of Assistant Professor Scotty Young at Virginia Tech, a dedicated team of researchers has unveiled an innovative method for detecting the presence of spotted lanternflies by examining the ants that unwittingly track these pests. This groundbreaking discovery, recently published in the journals Pest Management Science and Neobiota, has the potential to revolutionize our approach to identifying invasions before they can establish themselves. Spotted lanternflies, which originated from Asia, have been making their way across the United States since 2014, leaving a path of destruction in vineyards, orchards, and even in residential backyards. These pests feed on the sap of plants using their straw-like mouthparts and excrete a sticky substance known as honeydew, which is not only rich in sugars but also contains significant amounts of lanternfly DNA. Enter the ants. Ants are nature's sugar seekers, Young noted. They are constantly on the lookout for food, and they have a particular fondness for honeydew. When ants come across this sugary byproduct, they consume it, transport it back to their colonies, and share it with others, all the while unknowingly carrying traces of spotted lanternfly DNA within their bodies. Utilizing environmental DNA testing, a technique commonly employed to identify wildlife without direct observation, Yang's team has developed a novel approach dubbed antDNA. By collecting foraging ants and analyzing them in a laboratory setting through PCR testing, researchers have successfully detected lanternfly DNA even in the absence of the actual insects. In some instances, ants have been found to pick up DNA from over 300 feet away from the nearest known infestation, with traces remaining detectable for up to 5 days after a single feeding. The importance of early detection. Early detection is crucial when it comes to managing spotted lanternflies, as these pests pose a significant threat to grapevines, hops, hardwood trees, and more. Once they establish themselves, eradicating them becomes a challenging and expensive endeavor. Traditional methods of detection often rely on visually spotting the insects or their eggs, which can be too late for effective intervention. The antDNA method presents a quicker and more scalable solution. Moreover, since ants are ubiquitous, found in forests, fields, and urban areas, this strategy is applicable across a variety of environments. Yang's team is currently developing a portable testing kit that will provide real-time results in the field. In the future, this technique could also be adapted to identify other pests that produce honeydew, thereby enhancing the defense of crops and ecosystems. By transforming one of nature's most industrious scavengers into a proactive tool for early warning, researchers at Virginia Tech may have equipped farmers, scientists, and city officials with a vital advantage in the ongoing battle to safeguard trees and crops. What are your thoughts on this innovative approach? Do you believe that utilizing ants in pest detection could change the way we manage invasive species? Share your opinions in the comments below. ***. The original study can be found online, https://scijournals.onlinelibrary.wiley.com/doi/10.1002/ps.8814. For breaking news and daily updates, consider signing up for our newsletter, https://wtop.com/newsletter-signup. Copyright 2025 WTOP. All rights reserved. This website is not intended for users located within the European Economic Area. About the author. William Vitka is a digital writer/editor for WTOP.com, with over a decade of experience in the news industry. Prior to joining WTOP, he contributed to CBS News, Staff Magazine, The New York Post, and authored numerous books, approximately a dozen, with more on the way. 2. Invasive swarm, spotted lanternflies take over Toledo trees, your guide to control. The resurgence of spotted lanternflies is causing quite a stir throughout Toledo. Toledo, Ohio, WTVG, the spotted lanternflies have made their return, and they are appearing in various locations across Toledo. If you take a moment to observe, you might realize that what you thought were mere specks on the trees are actually these pesky lanternflies, and there are countless numbers of them. "They are everywhere," exclaimed Edward Mellett, a resident of Toledo. "I often pull into the lot or even into my driveway to wash my car, and when I go to dry it off, I find myself swatting away these bugs. It wasn't until one day that I looked up and saw that the tree above was completely covered with them." Mellett, along with his colleague Martis Stewart, works at a car shop located on Manila Street, just off Dorr Street. The tree directly above their garage is teeming with these insects. "Last year, we would only spot one or two here and there," Mellett noted. "But now, it's a different story. They're multiplying, growing larger, changing colors, and spreading everywhere. I can't help but wonder what they will look like next year." Stewart added, "It's a bit unsettling. I try to avoid looking at them because I find them quite off-putting. There are just so many of them." In a conversation with 13 Action News reporter Brennan Nye, Amy Stone, an extension educator from Ohio State University, provided some insights. She reassured the public that while lanternflies may appear daunting, they do not pose a danger to humans. These insects are primarily agricultural pests. When their numbers swell and they begin feeding on specific crops, they can cause stress to those plants, Stone explained. However, in our usual landscapes, they are more of a nuisance than a serious threat. Stone elaborated that the lanternflies currently observed are in their nymph stage, which consists of 4 distinct phases. The first 3 stages are characterized by a black and white appearance, while the 4th stage showcases a combination of red, black, and white. They will transition into adulthood in a few weeks, but rest assured, they do not bite or sting. However, if you encounter them, it is advisable to eliminate them. These insects are particularly fond of the tree of heaven and wild grapevine. If you have either of these plants in your yard, reducing their presence can help diminish the food supply for the lanternflies, Stone suggested. You can also vacuum them up, crush them by hand, or collect them. There are traps available for use as well. If you find a tree that is heavily infested, you might want to explore insecticidal options to manage the situation effectively. This situation raises an important question: how should communities balance the management of invasive species like the spotted lanternfly while ensuring the health of local ecosystems? What are your thoughts on this? Share your opinions in the comments below. 3. How to deal with invasive spotted lanternflies, expert nursery tips. Gardeners, brace yourselves, a beautiful but destructive invader is back, threatening to turn your lush greenery into a sticky, moldy nightmare. The spotted lanternfly has resurfaced across Virginia, with recent sightings confirmed by the Virginia Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services in Richmond and Lynchburg. But here's where it gets controversial. Many homeowners are still unprepared for this creeping ecological disaster, especially new gardeners who might miss the subtle warning signs. These invasive pests drain life from plants by sucking sap, particularly targeting trees and vines. Their feeding frenzy leaves behind a sugary waste called honeydew, which becomes a breeding ground for sooty mold that smothers plants and attracts other pests. Jenny Resch, a manager at Sneed's Nursery, emphasizes vigilance. Learn to recognize both the insects and their camouflage egg masses. Those dried egg sacs. They mimic tree bark perfectly, often blending into wooden pallets or trunks where they're laid. Virginia nurseries like Sneed's have battled these hitchhikers since 2018, especially when transporting plants from high-risk states like Pennsylvania. Rash notes: most arrive as nearly invisible eggs on our shipments, pumpkins, annuals, even soil bags. Yet despite years of alerts, she worries new gardeners remain unaware. We are seeing minimal public dialogue about prevention, even now. So what's the battle plan? First, the nursery's blunt advice: spot 1. Storm it. But here's the explosive twist: target their breeding ground. Lanternflies thrive on the invasive ailanthus tree of heaven. Removing this fast-spreading host plant starves them out. And this is the part most people miss: reporting sightings is critical. Snap a photo and submit it to Virginia's Agricultural Department to track outbreaks. Controversy alert: is storm first, ask later truly effective? Or does fighting invasives require larger-scale solutions like biocontrols? Some argue removing host trees harms local ecosystems. Do you agree? Share your take below. Meanwhile, stay alert: that speckled visitor could decimate your garden before you even notice its eggs hiding in plain sight. 4. Spotted lanternflies invade Virginia. What to expect this pest-heavy summer? Imagine a summer where these pesky spotted lanternflies are everywhere, turning your outdoor spaces into nuisances. Virginia is bracing for what could be a particularly bothersome season. But here's where it gets interesting: the life cycle of these insects is quite fascinating. Scott Baker, an extension agent with the Virginia Cooperative Extension, explains that these flying pests are currently in various stages of development. Just a week or two ago, many of the spotted lanternflies you saw were nymphs, essentially the juvenile forms of the insect. Recently, however, these nymphs have matured into adults, ready to make their presence felt. It's like a mix of different age groups right now, Baker notes. Some that hatched in April are now reaching adulthood, while others are still developing. By August, you'll mostly see adults. This staggered development means the peak infestation is likely still ahead. Despite their annoying nature, the spotted lanternflies aren't considered extremely harmful to most plants. They prefer maple trees, grapevines, and a specific host plant called the paradise tree. For most homeowners, the sheer number of these insects can be more irritating than damaging. We haven't seen significant harm to most tree species or vegetable gardens, Baker says. But if you have valuable maple trees, you might want to consider some treatments. In previous years, Virginia attempted to control the spread of these pests through quarantines. However, it seems that the spotted lanternflies have already established themselves in many areas. They've been around for a few years now, Baker points out. People in the Lynchburg area have been dealing with them for about 2 or 3 years, so they're here to stay. Interestingly, there are some early signs that local wildlife might be adapting to prey on these invaders. Baker mentions conversations with an entomologist in Maryland who reported that several bird species, including red-headed woodpeckers, have started feeding on spotted lanternflies. This natural predation could be a promising development, he adds. The good news is that the spotted lanternfly population tends to decline as temperatures drop. However, Baker advises preparing for a long, busy summer. It usually takes more than one cold snap to get rid of them entirely, he says. In fact, I saw some as late as October last fall. So, while the coming months may be filled with these pests, there's hope that nature might find a way to balance things out. What do you think? Should we welcome these new visitors, or is it time to take more aggressive action against them?